Oh, it's not that bad. We're okay.
You ain't so tough with that bad boy talk. I'ma get it how I'm living. I'ma walk the walk. Outline my lines. I rap through thought.
Kepa. I've just read a stat about Rob Sanchez and Kepa, and I'm going to show you in a moment. Guys, welcome back to Football Therapy with me, your host, Jan. Of course, new lens zoomed right into my face. No wide angle, green screen again. I'm going to get something designed to go behind me. For both this channel and the second channel, Football Yannick, feel free to subscribe. Today we're discussing the learnings of the Chelsea squad. Enzo Maresca's Chelsea in the first few months of the season. Interesting that he didn't turn to certain players in that game against Man United. Lots of fallout I've read and seen online on social media and heard from Chelsea fans. Quite interesting. And now the dust is settled, the temperature's cooled a little bit, we can speak maybe a little bit more sensibly on that. Of course, we are in the top four. If someone said to you in the summer, right, you'll start November in the top four of the Premier League and above Arsenal, you would have gone, thank you very much. Wouldn't you? You would have. Let's be real. Of course, if they said also you're out of the Carabao Cup, you'd be frustrated. But, you know, things are going well in the Conference League and Cole Palmer's still good. You'd be pleased with all that kind of... Cole Palmer's still good. Nico Jackson's getting better. You know. Neto looks very good, doesn't he? Like, the vibes are still good. It's not perfect. There's stuff to do. We'll talk about that. I want to quickly look at some stuff with the squad and talk about this as well, because as well we looked so devoid of creativity in that game, and maybe Nkunku wasn't the guy, but Joao Felix is a very talented footballer. Now, I'm not saying he's the solution, and I'm not even suggesting he should definitely should start for Chelsea, but he's obviously a player, Joao Felix, that we signed Chelsea because it was part of the deal where we could get Conor Gallagher out the door for, what was it, 30 million quid pure profit, and then we signed Joao Felix for 45 million quid, but we amortized that. You know, even if he was on a 7-year deal, we amortized it for 5 years. And that's less than 10 million a year. So the books was immediately juiced up by the sale of Gallagher going and Joao Felix coming in. A lot of people got terribly excited because of the quality he brings. And in fact, let's show you this first. On X, an account called CFC Analytic, who we are taking as gospel here, has tweeted Rob Sanchez, because I want to go through Joao Felix and other players properly in a moment. Rob Sanchez has 2 errors leading to goals and 2 penalties committed in just 10 games. 2 errors leading to goals and 2 penalties committed. 4, especially giving up 4 goals. Important ones as well. Kepa had 3 errors leading to goals throughout his entire Chelsea career in the Premier League. Rob Sanchez, that is really, really bad. It is. And look, this isn't necessarily going to be a hit piece, this video on him. I do think people look at him, goalkeeping coaches and indeed managers and coaches look at him and think, you know what, this guy is great. He's massive, but he's really agile. He can pass every now and again, until he can't, apparently. And, there's great scope for development to turn him into something special here. I ain't seeing it, bro. In fact, let's look at the Chelsea squad. Okay? Men's profiles. Look at all these goalkeepers in the first team. Bettinelli's safe. He's just safe. He's the vibes man. We love him. He ain't going anywhere, right? Granted, we ain't seen enough from Philip Jorgensen, and it is a hard J, apparently. But he's looked poor so far. He looks like a very young keeper that's just like been plucked out of somewhere, do you know what I mean? And yeah, I'm not overly convinced yet. Lucas Bergstrom should probably be on loan somewhere. But Rob Sanchez, man, we need a new goalkeeper. I'm sorry, I'm not this guy. If you watch me in Football Therapy, you will know that I'm not guys that like say, oh, he's terrible. And in fact, I get accused of like defending players sometimes, like unreasonably. But I have seen enough of this guy to see him do excellent games and think, wow, he could be the guy. Is he the guy? And then stuff like that. people in my social media on Instagram, again, at Football Yannick on Instagram, should you want to follow me, was saying, like, come on, Jan, you get about that penalty, but he made some good saves, and he has good moments. He has good moments, but to be a Chelsea goalkeeper, not even Chelsea, like, I know we've had iconic keepers like Cech and Courtois was great. I know no one likes him, but he was so good, and he's got even better at Real Madrid. He's an excellent goalkeeper. But everyone needs a good goalkeeper if you're going to do well. Edison and Alisson, and to be honest, now David Raya. And to be honest, even Andre Onana, I'm getting confused like that geezer in Belgium. He settled into Man United very, very well. Obviously, he was a very high-profile goalkeeper at Ajax and Inter, and maybe he just fell into the sort of meme banter aura of Man United and was poor for a while. Chucked a few in his own net or whatever. But he's been solid for an extended period of time where Man United can just trust him, you know? And there's goalkeepers in, like, other parts of the league that, like, come on, Sanchez was, I know he fell out with De Zerbi, but he was like they're relegated to their like third choice goalkeeper. He shouldn't be Chelsea's number one. I'm sorry. Like, again, if he turns it around and it works out, and by all accounts, Maresca and the sporting directors do trust him, and Ben Roberts, the goalkeeping coach, will want it to work. If it works out, great, but I can only speak with how I feel right now. And that is, he's not good enough. To the point where maybe, I mean, it would be horrendous for his development, and this should we do it, like, Jorgensen would be like, what the heck? I would even like go and get a goalkeeper in January, because it could be the difference for qualifying for the Champions League. And we're going to again look for because I think we can do a lot of business in January, which is crazy because we seemed, last January was very, very quiet. Did we even sign anyone? Because the January before was this insane one with Mudryk, Enzo Fernandez, loads of other players. We signed like 9 players in January, which was crazy. The one before, we didn't really do anything. Fine. Which is probably welcome, not to, disrupt Pochettino's season. Because we sort of learnt from our previous mistake. But I do think there's going to be a lot of business again and some exits. Possibly a goalkeeper. So I do want to go through the squad and talk about ins, outs, replacements, and problems. So look, with Sanchez, I've said all I can say. Odds are he'll see out the rest of the season as Chelsea's number one, because what are you going to do? You sign another goal. You're not going to sell any of these goalkeepers in January. Sanchez could maybe be my Chelsea number 2, maybe. But look at these, man. We can't get a 5th goalkeeper registered in the men's first team. That is insane. But I would. If I could. And what would you change right now? I'd just be like, goalkeeper, mate. We win against Man United and I know goalkeepers will concede penalties. They will every now and again. Edison does it for Man City, but I've just seen enough. That stat, in 10 games, giving away 4 important goals is just too much for me. Now look, defenders, Cucurella, safe as houses, mate. He ain't going anywhere. It's good because, he was a big investment. He's 25. His profile was raised by winning the European, not the European Cup, the Euros in the summer. He's recognised as a great player, and maybe, and this has been reported on The Athletic and stuff, if a big offer came in for Cucurella, Chelsea might go, because we've got other players. They'll look at what they do with Malo Gusto cheap, Renato Vega cheap, even cheaper, and they'll think there's value there. And there's untouchables in the Chelsea squad. I don't think Cucurella is one of them. I think they'd like to keep him, but he's on high wages. He is a very expensive asset, and if they could get their money back and alleviate, because he's not on the new wage structure, he's one of the few left that aren't on the new wage structure. So I'm not saying he's for sale. I'm just saying if there was an offer for Cucurella, people might listen. Disassi. Again, Chelsea might actively try and sell Disassi. I don't think Chelsea fans would mind. And Chelsea will look at bringing in defenders. Tosin is fine. I don't think he's necessarily going to be this great goalkeeper. If he was a great goalkeeper, that would be a touch, wouldn't it? Chuck him in there. He's big enough. I don't think he's going to be this like starter that maybe people thought he was, or he was going to, kick out Fofana out of the team. I think he's good. He's solid. He's senior. I think he turns 27 this month. So he's not like, the young centre-back partnership lads, but he represents a good option. And he was a free transfer. They're not, and then he was a good acquisition business-wise. They're not on the need to sell him. Benoit Badiashile, just yesterday, we reacted to a French story that he could be sold in January. Now, that is interesting because Chelsea fans might be like, would want Disasi out first, but to be honest, neither of the Monaco boys are inspiring confidence at the moment. To be honest, if we can sort out the contract issue of Josh Achimpong, the young centre-back / right-back, that would be huge. These are the kind of players you want to lock down and utilise, and he would easily be enough quality to be in the Conference League team, and that's that's what you want. You don't really necessarily want like Nkunku, Joao, Felix, Neto. I know Neto's probably in the first team now, the Premier League team. But that Galactico team, you want like more developmental guys. Do you know what I mean? So I really hope we sort out that contract situation with Josh Achimpong. But Badiashile and Disasi, both of these guys could go. Levi Colwill, absolutely untouchable. Probably Chelsea's highest rated player in the back line in terms of longevity, leadership qualities, and maybe over Reece James as well, which is because he's young. He's like 20. How old is he? 21 now. 20. He's very young. He's trending upwards. Chile. This is a reason why I think we're gonna do lots of business in January, because they're not even touching him. Even if you're not like the biggest Ben Chilwell fan, there are certain games like that cup game against Newcastle where Ben Chilwell could come on, just absolutely rip up the left flank, offer something different and try and win that game while resting your entire first team and, the B team, because he's so underutilized, he could definitely have an effect. He's not being used, guys, because he's going to be sold in January, as far as I'm concerned. And that's what's happening. And for me, that's a high-profile exit. Of course, he's on a lot of money, a lot of wages, high-profile exit. These boys are safe. The right-backs, or apparently left-back, Reece James. It's just funny because he's like defender, wing-back. Really, he doesn't play wing-back now. He plays right-back or left-back. And Gusto's playing as a number 10 almost, and he's being listed as a right-back. It's all just a state of mind. These starting positions anyway, aren't they? Both safe as houses, both excellent. Of course, Gusto represents great success. Fofana. Now, my boy Fofana, he's on big wages, by the way. He's not in the new wage structure, so he'll be very happy he came in at that time. And as Reece James also got the new big contract, and Cucurella as well. Do you know what I mean? So Fofana will be happy with his wages. But he needs to know he's part of the plan, and hopefully Chelsea have demonstrated that to him. I'm a huge fan of him as a player, stylistically. I've said it many, many times. I've said it on the channel. Before we signed him, I was waxing lyrical about him. When we were linked to him, I was buzzing. When we signed him, especially 69 million, they wanted 85 million. I thought we got a good deal for what is. You got people like Gary Lineker, who's a Leicester fan, saying on Match of the Day, or when we signed him, like he could be the best centre-back, in the world or whatever. He's so... His style, the way he plays, the way he defends aggressively, the way he ball progresses, the way he can score a goal, and not just a header, he can score with his feet. Like, he's a good footballer. Yes, he's not been up to his standard, but the reason why Maresca has been very positive about Wesley Fofana recently, he like waxing lyrical about him, not because of his performances, because he's had ricks in him, but because he's come back from a year out from a very serious injury, and he's playing games up to speed. Huge bonus. And we're relying on him and, cultivating this relationship with Levi, and good. And yes, the defence is our weak spot. The goalkeeper, against Manchester United was the worst one. Fofana played a little part in that as well. Out of him and Levi, he's been the most wobbly. But you still start Fofana and Levi as your first choice two centre-backs because they can play together, because they're both the youngest centre-backs, and they've got the highest ceiling as a duo. No one's saying, start, one of the Monaco lads. So, he, just in a story quickly on Fofana, he was linked to, was it Marseille, to go back to France? Is that his club? And he considered it, but not because he was like, I hate Chelsea, I want to get out of here. He kind of supported Chelsea as a kid, that Chelsea shirt when he was little, but that's his club in France. And he thought, if they want me, and that's where I'm going to go. Like, yeah, fine. But when Chelsea said, no, you're our boy, you're going to play. I know you've been out for a year, but we're going to bring you back to what you're supposed to be. He was like, all right, Chelsea. So he is committed, but he just needed to know, which is fair enough. Vega, great. He's not necessarily like this. He's a great signing. £11.9 million. Not perfect, but he looks really versatile. He looks like a great guy, a great character. He's very aggressive. A great signing. He's not like a obvious starter. He will be utilised in the odd Prem game. He will start in the B team. Who knows what the future holds? Maybe he can become a starter for Chelsea. But whichever way you look at it, excellent signing, going nowhere. Now, Enzo Fernandez dropped for Lavia correctly, rightly, and appropriately. I don't know if you guys watch Match of the Day too over here in the UK, but they did an analysis. I think it was Jones, ex-Manchester United defender, was speaking about him and Lavia playing together. They say really narrow and they move around together, and that is a good double pivot. They got a good relationship and understanding with each other, and that is just a much better, much more functioning midfield, Lavia and Caicedo. It's not perfect, they need coaching, but off the bat, those green shoots demonstrate much better. Look, Fernandez is an amazing player. I've said it recently here on the channel that he's got star quality. That's why I think like a Real Madrid would come in for him because, Argentina superstar. And he looks quite cool and he can play Hollywood balls and he's aggressive and, Spanish speaker. I could see him going to like a Real Madrid or Barcelona. I'd love for it to work at Chelsea because he does fight for the club, fight for the cause, but he's holding that bench at the moment. But of course, we're talking about transfers and business soon. He ain't going anywhere because he's too much of a big asset. Unless, again, a bit like Cucurella, unless someone comes in for him with a lot of money. Again, this is another reason, guys. Carney Chukwuemeka, an amazing player. Should have been brought on the midweek against Newcastle United. Should have been brought on probably even against Manchester United. We'll speak about Felix and Nkunku, but he's different. He's not some kid. We paid a lot of money for this guy as a kid because he's really, really effective in games. He's really effective. He can score goals. He can make things happen. He can mix it up. He's not playing because we're going to sell him in January or loan him. That's my opinion. That's what I think's happening. So they're just keeping all these guys on ice. And look, I love Maresca. And people are going to see this as a negative, and in many ways it is, but there is, I suppose, positives to it. No matter how strong and independent he's being, and everyone's said he's not a yes man, he fights against the club sometimes, he speaks his mind, and I do think there's a bit of that, but I also think there's a little bit of towing the company line with Enzo Maresca. I think he's got a really close relationship with the sporting directors. He knows their intent. They're trying to really work together, like they give him what he needs and how he wants to work, but he also knows, right, we want to get these guys out. You've got to just say you don't like them, say they don't fit tactically, and be cold and calculated. And I think that's what's happening. And even though he says I was tactical as a choice, I do think he's being instructed with certain players in squad building, or there's meetings, and he's pretending it's all just his decision. But I refuse to believe that personally. So look, Carney's going to go out the door as well. Dewsbury Hall's an interesting one. Because it has to be like a Maresca signing purely because of, he came from Leicester. He was the best player in Leicester in his championship winning season with Maresca. So, he just looks like... I know, granted, we played him at a right wing in midweek, and that was just a disaster. Complete disaster. But, what is he like? He's not even is he supposed to be playing in that left pocket where Cole Palmer's been playing the last 2 games? He's such a big drop-off. Look, he's going to be floating around for a bit, Dewsbury Hall. I don't think he's a massive labour on wages. And at 30 million, he wasn't the biggest outlay. We're going to keep him around, surely. Caicedo, superstar. Don't need to say anymore. And again, Cassidy, again, we'll think if we can, we'll do something in January. These are players we tried to get on this summer and couldn't. This is what's going to make us a really active club in January, and we can talk about potential incomings as well. I know this is going to be a long video, guys. Sorry for those of you who like short and snappy. Amari Kellyman, this midfielder, this kid, he's the one injury that we got. Sancho had a cold or he's ill and couldn't play against United anyway because of his he can't play against his parent club while he's on loan for the first year. Amari Kellyman, again, he was a bit a part of the old switcheroo of Aston Villa. We'll sell you Ian Mutson for an inflated price to get more pure profit on an academy player, and you sell us Amari Kellyman at an inflated price. Chelsea probably like Amari Kellyman, but not for the money we paid. Of course, he's been injured all season. He's really, really slight. He's a small guy. And when you're looking at games where we're getting dominated in midfield and needed a bit more strength, you don't think, oh, chuck this lad in there. Look, he might be an absolute maestro. I think he's meant to be a bit more attacking as well. But I don't see him as a solution for the moment. And when he's fit, he's probably going to, play with the under-21. So, Lavia, again, I'm really impressed with Lavia. I knew he was good. I mean, most people knew he was really good. And certainly that we paid enough money for him. But I think he's, considering, like Wesley, out for a whole season, he's been very impressive coming back in the nature and the manner he's coming back. To be honest, like, the medical team... from last season, that absolute nightmare, to come back from that and just have these players that looked like if you blew on them, they were going to be out for 6 months. Just playing fine. Like, we've really come through a lot. We've done it. We're good. Medical team, I mean. So yeah, Lavia's great. I mean, he's not perfect. He's the sort of... he makes Caicedo better, which is important. Attackers, guys. Neto, currently first choice winger, period, for me. Right wing or left wing. Ideally, I'd like 2 Netos to start either side. Over the likes of Mudryk, who we've spoken about to death. Noni, whose form has dipped and was completely and entirely ineffective at Old Trafford. To be honest, Jadon Sancho, I don't want to write him off like Mudryk, and I'm not writing off Noni. Noni's just had a dip in form. But Sancho, yeah, at the moment, if you had to choose 2 wingers to start that were fit and firing, I'd probably choose Sancho on the left and Neto on the right. Cole Palmer's the best player in the universe. Mark Yu could go in January. Genuinely, we could loan him to like a La Liga club, another one, and that's the wingers done. So attackers, Nico Jackson's absolutely safe. And then there's these guys, Nkunku and Joao Felix. Firstly, I want to end on Joao Felix. Nkunku, let's speak about him. He's listed as a striker here. He's not a striker for me. He's like a sort of kind of niche forward. He's a little bit like Kai Havertz in terms of you got to accommodate him in a certain way for his qualities, but he's a much better finisher with Kai Havertz, certainly with his feet, Nkunku. And he's faster than Kai Havertz. But Kai's good. He's got his own like unique qualities. I do think we're going to sell Nkunku. I just got a gut feeling that Nkunku will be sold. If Maresca is the guy and he has a good first season, we finish top 4, we win the Conference League, which, by the way, is a great first season. And, he carries on trying to play Nkunku as a striker and he doesn't get that many goals. And I feel like we'll sell him. He's on massive wages, and those massive wages have to demand yourself as a starter. If we're not starting, we can't not start a player on those wages. That will be the plan, to clear out those kind of playing staff that are on huge wages that aren't playing. Like Chile. Obviously, he's going to be utilised more than Chile because he's a finisher, he's a goal scorer. But I do think, unless he does really start settling as a centre forward, which I'm yet to see, by the way, profile-wise, I think he's great performances, great finishes, but he doesn't do anywhere near the same value as Nicholas Jackson in terms of how Nico contributes to teams, to games. Even when Nico doesn't score or assist, watch how he plays as a centre forward. Yeah, and it's not because Nkunku's bad, he's just different. So I do wonder. I'm not writing him off. If he makes it worth work, then great. And I'm a huge fan of him, guys. Don't think I'm being neggy here. I was so excited when we signed him. When he was injured all last season, I was going, don't forget about this guy. He's amazing. And I got a lot of stick for it. Like, we've never seen this guy. But I was like, no, he's an elite finisher. I still think he could be the best finisher in the team, or at least on par with Cole Palmer. And finally, Joao Felix. I was really excited when we sold him. We signed him, excuse me. And I don't know why, because we didn't need him. Again, in the summer when I did the transfer videos and all that, I was like, it makes no sense, but it's exciting. It's exciting because he really wanted to come to Chelsea. He loved his time on loan here, despite it being mental with Graham Potter for that 6 months and like too much, not enough space in the changing rooms and all that craziness. He loved it here. He wanted to come back to Chelsea. He was willing to lower his wages. And, for Joao, this is a guy who cost 120 million euros or whatever it was, or more maybe. We got for 45 million quid, which is considering a guy's 24 years old and lowered his wages, great. And he is positionally versatile, kind of. You can play him on the left. I don't think we're going to play him on the left. Maresca doesn't seem to do that. But you can play him as at sort of pocket player or as a striker. And guys, say it quietly. Like, I might rather play Joao Felix as a striker over Nkunku, because of the way he does those glancing headers and the way he drops and ghosts around a little bit more. And he's like a proper false nine where, you've got a true nine in Nico Jackson. He's become a true nine now. You've got, and then I guess Nkunku, who's like a second striker, wants to run in behind and just be really direct. But when the focal point doesn't really work. But at least Joao Felix can play as a floaty false nine, drop deep, like a sort of Roberto Firmino when Liverpool won the league. And to me, that is an alternative stylistically to Jackson. You can be like, all right, we'll try this instead. Where Nkunku, I feel like you're just literally trying to shoehorn him into the team. Do you know what I mean? Which is very, very frustrating. That's just my opinion. And yeah, again, Felix is on lower wages than Nkunku. He's younger. Nkunku's 27 now, and Felix is 24. So he's got time to get better, and Maresca can really drill into him. And I do think players will get better under Maresca. I genuinely think that. I don't think it was going to happen really with... I'm grateful to Pochettino because he did obviously some stuff right with Jackson and Palmer. Absolutely. And Gusto. I'm not anti-Poch. I just don't think he was the right guy for the job. I do think he was bad for the injuries, and I don't think he was the appropriate guy to lead Chelsea. But he did a good job. Top 6, European qualification, Palmer superstar, Jackson, Gusto, good. Good. Joao Felix, he's kind of one of these players that you do feel like it was an opportune signing. We got Mendes a bit, as Alex Goldberg, I think, called it. Or was it Nick Villaney on London is Blue? I heard a content creator say it. It was opportunistic. That means it's a gamble. That means you don't know if it's going to work. But great. All these players are great. Sancho, Neto, Nkunku, Felix. It's just making them work. And now if we are committing to Enzo Maresca and his style, no more silly buggers. You got to fit the system. You got to fit the style. You got to fit the wage structure. You got to fit the team. And he's got to try. And we're seeing with the manager, he needs to trust these players. He didn't bring some of these players off the bench. And interestingly, with Joao Felix, he will back himself to start for Chelsea. He says, I'm young, I will start for Chelsea. He said it himself. We'd all love to see a lineup where it's this kind of box midfield of Caicedo and Lavia, and then maybe Joao Felix in the left pocket, Cole Palmer in the right pocket. Do you know what I mean? That would be very exciting. We might have to do some moving around there, or again, maybe if Lavia's not playing and a fullback converts to join Caicedo, and then you can get these two sort of number 8, number 10 players. Still, let me know what you think, guys. Thanks for joining me. Thank you for liking and subscribing to this channel. I do appreciate all the support. I will be doing more work, getting some graphic. I've hired someone to do some work on some new graphics behind me to make it more fun. And I hope to see you back here soon. Mwah. Peace.